everyone. Welcome back to another JCT Talks podcast.
In today's video, we will be interviewing historian Ronald Murphy Jr.
Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And check out our Instagram for exclusive content.
Now, on to the podcast.
So yeah, like we said in the interview, we will be in the intro, we will be interviewing Ronald Murphy Jr. So hello, Ronald. Do you want to tell us about yourself?
Hello there, gentlemen. Hey, it's a pleasure to be on your show, guys. Like you guys, great introduction. My name is Ronald Murphy. What I do is I like to deal with cryptozoology. That's the way I see myself. I've always had a passion for the paranormal. Probably since I've been about 8 years old. It's something that I've really been into. So I guess a cryptozoologist, but also an historian, because I like to figure out how all these things fit into a particular time and place. So I look at it not only for monsters, which I absolutely love, but also the cultural context in which these things arise as well. In my real life, I have 5 children. I like to embarrass them all the time by taking them to conferences and telling them their dad looks for Bigfoot. I love doing that. And I work with families. I've worked with families for most of my adult life. And I'm constantly talking all the time. And it's just something that I do. But what really got me into cryptozoology and the paranormal was my mom. I was probably a little bit younger than you guys. And we would listen back in my day, back in the 1970s, we used to have a thing called radio. I think you guys probably have heard about this before, but you could tune it and you could listen to it. Was kind of like podcasts, except you had very few to choose from at the time. But out of Pittsburgh, one of my mentors, Stan Gordon, he would talk once a month about the various sightings that were in the area. And my mom would take my brother and I out, and we would go look for the places where these things, purportedly happen. We would look for Bigfoot. We would look for UFOs. So growing up, my whole childhood was one of wonder, was one that these things could exist. And not only they could exist, but they probably did exist. And, I voraciously devoured every book I could find on the paranormal and cryptozoological at my local library. And it was just a good time to be a kid. It really was.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to start us off with the first question. And that is, who has really motivated you growing up?
Oh, it has to be my mom. I think that a lot of people nowadays, whenever they talk about heroes, they look at, sports, they look at athletes, or they look at people in the entertainment field. And I can honestly say that growing up, my hero was always my mother. She was a single mom, for one thing. She was a very educated woman, and she really allowed me to be who I was. She didn't mold me in any way. She allowed me to become the person I am very organically. She was really a big inspiration to me. And she unfortunately passed away whenever she was only 55. So she's been passed away now for about 20 years. But that was probably the biggest loss I ever had in my life. But she was also my greatest influence as well.
I mean, yeah, parents are a great influence, and you live with them your whole life. Sorry to hear about that,
Sure.
But I'm glad that you had someone like her in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was an adult whenever it happened, of course, whenever she passed away. But it's important in those formative years, and especially with like what you guys are doing, what Jake and you are doing right now. As a kid, I could never do that. Even if we had the technology back then, there is no way that I could do this. I do podcasts, but I know nothing about the technology or anything like that. I'm very, very lame whenever it comes to technological things. So I give you guys all the credit in the world. But at the end of the day, appreciate what you have. You guys have this world of information at your fingertips, but you also have to remember, that your family is there as well. And you have to give them a little bit of time, because years goes by so quickly. I like I said, I remember being your age with my friends, starting a Bigfoot club. We would go up into the woods, after school every day looking for things. And there's really nothing that beats that interpersonal, stuff. I know people are all about the internet now, and it's a great resource. But that time out with my family and the time out with my friends without any electronics around really is what made me who I am today as well.
Yeah, that is super interesting, and how technology has advanced is crazy, and it's
It
great.
is. Well, that's a good point, Jake. So whenever I started to become interested in Bigfoot, whenever I was a kid, we had to go to the library because there was no organizations around. And I remember it wasn't until I was in college that I actually got to sit down at the internet. And one of the first things that I did was I typed in Bigfoot in Pennsylvania. And only one site came up at that time, one site. Now, if you type Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, you'll get hundreds and hundreds of things back at you. But yeah, it was one of those things where right now, if you want information, you can Google anything and you can come up with so many different things. And it's really a fun time to be alive. It really is. Look, all this information at your fingertips, but also nothing beats you being out in the woods as well. That's one of my favorite things that I can do with my kids.
I can completely agree. I love being in the outdoors and getting to see how, I mean, the internet has definitely taken over my life, right? Like a
That
lot of
is right.
technology, and I've always been on my phone, but if I just take like the time outside, it's really enjoying and a great
And right.
experience.
Life seems to start going in slow motion whenever you're outside. It's so quick here because we have we have the world at our fingertips. But once you're outside, it goes by a different rhythm, that very natural sound. It's almost like the heartbeat of the earth. And once you become tuned to that, a lot of the stresses, especially a lot of the adult stresses that we face, just kind of starts, molting away. And it becomes a very magical place. I don't think people understand how magical the woods are, in the 21st century, but it's a very, very magical place, even to me today. As an adult who's 50 years old, looking back over my life, I still love to be in the woods above all other places.
Yeah, I can completely agree. The outdoors is amazing. And this leads me to my next question. What's your favorite part about your career?
The traveling, absolutely, it's the traveling and meeting people. Um, a lot of my books that I've written comes from me just simply talking to people. I love doing conferences and people come up to me and say, "Did you hear the story about a vampire?" And these are stories that I would never know unless somebody would tell them to me. So I love to travel. I've been to a lot of great places. I've got to investigate places like Loch Ness, and I've got to investigate places in England as well too. But it doesn't matter where I am, even if I'm in a city. Even if I'm in a city like Boston or whatever, I can still find the enjoyment. One of my favorite places is Salem, Massachusetts, which is right outside of Boston. And I've taken very many trips there with my kids. And just to be out and walking around, even though we do the museums and everything there as well, nothing beats just walking around and stumbling upon a site, haphazardly. That's one of my favorite things as well to do. But I would say traveling and meeting people are the two main, the most enjoyment I get out of this career.
Yeah, I could definitely say. I mean, that's a great way to live. To just do what you love, right? And
Right.
yeah, and being outside is also great. I mean, I go try to get outside every day. We live in Maine, so there's a lot of snow, and but when I go out there, I could go out there, go for a nice long walk, come back, and it was only 30 minutes, even though it felt like an hour.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, one of my favorite places on planet Earth, and I've been throughout the United States, I've been throughout a lot of Canada, and as well as the British Isles. Still, one of my favorite places on Earth is Maine. I went to Lubec, Maine, a few years ago, and we were up there, and that's where the ocean and the forest meet in this kind of cataclysmic clash against the rocks. We were up there, and we were looking at we were investigating some things on Bigfoot, but it's really a wondrous place. And people don't understand that. They think that, oh, we have to go to the Pacific Northwest. To your listeners right now who live in a city, one of the things I could recommend is if you want to experience true wilderness, I would suggest going to Maine, because, east of the Mississippi, it is the least populated area. And you could seriously go for hours without seeing a human being in different parts of Maine. Very wild. Whatever you guys are doing up there, you're doing it very correctly. Pennsylvania doesn't have any old growth forests anymore. You know, we've timbered this place, we've strip mined it, so a lot of its natural resources have been depleted to the point that it will never be as it was 100 years ago. You know, it's just not. But Maine, for whatever you guys are doing up there, many places are still very pristine, and especially looking at it from my kids. I was able to experience Maine. My kids were able to experience it, and now I believe that their kids will be able to experience it as well, simply because of the conservation efforts that are taking place up there.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Cryptozoological Museum up there in Portland?
No, wait. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's Lauren Coleman's place. Really one of my favorite little places to go. It's a tiny little museum. It has a full-size Bigfoot there. You can get your picture taken in front of it. It has a lot of like sideshow gaffs and things. But it really, I mean, if you want to investigate, you know, the world of cryptids, that's one of my favorite places too. So right there in Portland. So
I might have been there. I remember we went to some little museum out there.
yeah, that's probably it. That's probably it.
No, yeah, it was really nice there.
But there's a cool place in Littleton, North Carolina too. For the folks that aren't on the too much up there in the New England area, but Littleton, North Carolina has a museum on cryptozoology and paranormal phenomenon, and it's one of my favorite places as well too. I get to speak there once a year, and we're supposed to be back there in April, but I'm looking forward just because I get to visit the museum again.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So my next question is, how did it feel being a part of the TV show True Terror?
Well, it was great because in this field, you want to feel as if you've been validated. And, you know, I've written books, but really the validation comes whenever somebody says, we want you on television. And that was the first time I ever saw the Pacific Ocean. You know, that was the first time I've ever been out to California. But they flew me out there a couple times. It took 2 trips to film the episode, all the episodes. There were 6 episodes, and it was cool. It was over the top in regards to special effects. The storytelling, I think, was efficient, but it was a unique opportunity. Let's put it that way. Now, I also do a series in Canada called Red Earth Uncovered. Unfortunately, most people in the States cannot get it. It's affiliated with the Canadian government, and it's run by the First Nations out of Vancouver, British Columbia. But I've done 2 seasons up there. And if anybody gets a chance, I think you can YouTube some things. But really, whenever you're on television, you can really get your ideas out there on a very wide platform, and you can talk to a lot of diverse people. And that's really why really the reason why I like doing television is because I can get a lot of my theories out there to the greater number of people as possible. And I also like to watch myself on television. I have every episode of True Terror on TV recorded. And sometimes, you know, there's nothing on, I'll just sit there watching myself. So I do like that as well.
Yeah, I know how that feels. I mean, when we put the podcast out there, I'd like to watch every episode, see how I see myself up there. And it's just something, I mean, sometimes you get on YouTube on the TV, just see yourself on TV. It's just...
Exactly. And that is the thing. People out there, especially you guys, you are putting out information that I did not have 20 years ago. You are doing a great service to those folks that are interested in this, because they want to hear other people's stories. And unless they know somebody, they're going to go to the internet and go to podcasts. So I applaud you and Jake for what you're doing, because I think this is necessary, especially in this kind of fringe field that we have an interest in, this field of the paranormal, the field of cryptozoological. We need an outlet, and things like this provide that necessary outlet.
Yeah, and I can completely agree to add on how you loved watching yourself. I happen to be on the Food Network's Chop Jr.
No.
it was a super great experience, right? Like you get to meet so many people, and of course I didn't get to be on as cool show as you and put my opinions out, but it was a great experience.
Well, I'm addicted to all kinds of reality shows. Jake, I did not know you were on there. As soon as I get off this phone with you, I am going to go. Is it on the seasons? Can I look it up? Is it on demand?
Yeah, season 9, episode 1. So
Season 9, episode 1. I will as soon as we're off of here, I will definitely look that up.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, it was a great experience. Yeah, I mean, and anybody who gets to be on, who gets an opportunity to do that, I would highly recommend to take it. Right?
Absolutely. What did you make? What was your dish?
I made 3 different dishes. So the first dish that I made, of course, was an appetizer. So it was a chicken frites with coleslaw and a sauce. It was a very exciting dish.
Wow!
Yeah.
That's
you have
impressive.
You have to put your heart out onto those dishes. You got to be super creative. So,
That's right. I have a difficult time cooking anything. So I will have to bow to your expertise in that. I have a difficult time even making grilled cheese sandwiches, Jake. So if we ever meet up, you're going to have to, show me some of your tricks.
I started off with grilled cheese sandwiches. So
nothing can beat a grilled cheese sandwich. But you know what my problem is? I do not like American cheese. I like to put a Gouda cheese on that is pretty good, or provolone or mozzarella. Certain kinds of textures and tastes I don't care for. And the American cheese, I just have never got into it.
Yeah, there's definitely different tastes, right? That's the hard part. Yeah.
That's right. To get it all to go. Now, would you recommend a good sourdough bread, or what is your go-to bread for a grilled cheese?
Ooh, that's really tough because it's definitely changed. I used to like a good sourdough. My dad used to make sourdoughs, and I liked it, but now it's hard to have sourdough bread for me because my braces, and it
Oh yes.
So I go for just like a nice whole grain boring bread,
nice.
But I definitely prefer sourdoughs. Those are super great for
Kellen, what is your go-to bread in the grilled cheese sandwich?
I see. I don't really make grilled cheeses. I maybe just make whatever's in the fridge. If we have some chicken in there, just warm it up.
Nice. Yeah.
I like a lot of meat.
That's good. I am too. Well, see, occasionally, whenever I'm doing these conferences, it will take me on places where I have to camp. Because we're in remote areas, and I tried to one time make spaghetti over a campfire, and it did not work whatsoever. It ended up tasting like smoke. I don't even think it was done. And but I would like to be good at cooking because it's so that's how you stay alive. But one of these days, Jake, you're gonna have to come up with a cookbook for dummies, or a cryptozoological cookbook for the people that are out there in the woods, so we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure to put that on my list. And
definitely. Yeah.
And I've tried to make SpaghettiOs. Actually, I'm a Boy Scout, so we go out in the woods, and I've tried to make SpaghettiOs and canned foods just over a campfire. I would not recommend it. It does not turn out very well.
Exactly. Maybe mountain pies. Maybe that would be my thing. Maybe you could do a mountain pie cookbook for those people who are out there on the trail of elusive cryptids.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good thing to add to the list, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this leads me to my next question. How has the coronavirus pandemic affected you?
Oh, it tremendously. Well, personally, my father, he passed away 3 days before Thanksgiving, just this past Thanksgiving, because he caught the coronavirus, and he died of pneumonia from the coronavirus. So personally, it has affected me greatly, but also it has shut down all the conferences. I was scheduled to talk in England last year. That was canceled. Again, canceled for this year. And a lot of the events that I was looking forward to in 2021 to get back on track have been canceling because, the vaccine can't get out there. And that's a good point. People are still doing research. People still have questions that they want answered. And they still have some people might even have answers to questions that are being asked. especially in regards to the Tasmanian tiger that might have been, caught on camera. But the coronavirus needs to go away. And I'm hoping that I will, because I work with people. I'm actually vaccinated. I got the 2-step vaccination. So I think if a lot more people are getting around to not only just vaccinating, but just playing safe and social distancing and wearing a mask, guys, we can get through this and we can get back to normal again. But because so much of this, of what I do derives, or it's necessary that I do conferences, and so much information that I gather derives from me talking to people. This has been an extremely slow year. And 2021 will probably be the first year in about 8 years that I will not write a book, simply because I've not been able to get out there to do anything. So yeah, it's affected us all very, very greatly, personally and financially, and everything else.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about your father.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, the coronavirus is definitely affected us all. Even if you haven't gone it, it's still
That's
affected
right.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all out there, and that's why you get the whole name pandemic, because it is everywhere. Even if it doesn't affect you, it's going to affect somebody that you know. And that's why we have to take it so seriously. But I have faith in the human race. I have faith that we will get through this. It may be another year, but I trust that within at least another year's time, maybe, we can all do 12 more months, that we'll be, at least being able to do things face to face again.
Yeah, definitely. Because, wearing a mask, staying 6 feet away from everyone.
That's
I
right.
mean, having to follow the arrows around the store.
That's right. That's right. In Western Pennsylvania, we a lot of people around here don't take it seriously. Uh, most people around here tend to be very conservative, and they feel that it's taking their rights away. But look, if you care about your fellow man, the least you could do is wear a mask. Even if you don't believe in it, just wear one, and do your Walmart shopping trip. You're going to be done in 15 minutes anyways, and just help out. Even if you don't believe it, it's going to help out. It really does. So let's not put our own personal biases in that, and let's just follow along and follow these rules until we get this thing out of our hair.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that will bring me to my next question, and that is there any part of your job that can sometimes be annoying?
You mean my cryptozoological job or my real job? Because everything about my real job is annoying. That's the whole problem is too. Real jobs are horrible, guys. Be a kid as long as possible. I would still be living at home if I could, as a matter of fact. But I think the worst thing about my job in the world of cryptozoology is traveling without my kids, because I'm very close to them, of course. And some of the most fun that I have is seeing the world through their eyes. So my biggest, one of my favorite things to do is travel. But one of the things that I regret the most is traveling without my children. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So I would say that being away from my kids for, a week at a time, I don't care for that at all.
Yeah, I mean that's very interesting, and I mean if you would think I want to become a traveler and travel all over the place, but I also want to have a family. If you want to have a family, then
Right.
if you want to travel and be with them, it's just gonna be much more trickier because then you're gonna have to accommodate for different things.
Right. And then like eating home cooked food, that's a huge thing as well. Just knowing that you're going to be in the same bed for more than 2 nights, this traveling around and going from hotel to hotel. It's really lonely, and it gets very sad at times. I remember whenever I was out in California filming True Terror. I didn't, of course, I didn't have a car out there or anything. So it was like I would go to the studio a couple times a day, and the rest of the time was on my own, and I really had nothing to do. I would walk around Los Angeles for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I was very, I was lonely. I was FaceTiming my kids. But yeah, there are drawbacks to this as well too. Travel was great. But whenever you're missing somebody, then it becomes a little bit harder.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my dad, he travels all the time for work. He has to go to I don't know, Seattle, New
Oh
York,
yeah.
Texas, California, Los Angeles, all these different places. And, he might have to do that once a week. Of course, with the coronavirus, he hasn't been doing it as much.
Sure.
Yeah, but, I remember like just so many times he'd just be out of the house and, then that, not it just affects him, I'm sure, because, he'd always FaceTime us, but we can also miss him, it's like,
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. One of my best experiences is 2 years ago. I did the New Jersey Paranormal Conference. Great one. That's one of my favorite ones. It's a fantastic conference. And the first time that I ever actually got to do a tour of New York City was during that conference. And I had such a fun time because I took my oldest daughter with me. And if my oldest daughter was not with me, I would not have had nearly as much fun during that conference.
Yeah, I can agree. Like, family is everything.
It is. It is. It is. And I'm glad you're appreciating that now, because whenever I was a kid, I really didn't think about it because, gosh darn it, you're a kid and you think it's going to last forever. But it really is. It really is everything. And I would give up everything that I've ever acquired simply to have my family. I mean, that's what it means to you. And that's what it means to me as well, too. So.
Yeah, and my parents, like, they help me. I don't have any siblings, so I'm an only child.
Oh, right.
But my parents are everything, right? And like getting to spend time, I need to take this time and really like keep it and memory it.
Absolutely, yeah. Because life does go very quickly. Now, I do have a younger brother, David. He's 2 years younger than I, and he's never gotten too much into Bigfoot and things. But occasionally, he'll go out to a few things that I do, and I like to see him there because that's still that bonding with who I was as a kid and everything. But yeah, I try to take my children on everything that I do, at least a couple of them. I'm having 5 kids. It's not practical to take all 5. But I do a lot of stuff with my older son, Donovan. And I try to get my other kids in there as much as possible too.
I mean, I bet your kids love going with you, right?
Well, my daughter Willow, who was 14, she will not be seen in public with me around my hometown because I would embarrass her. So if we're doing things out of state or out of town, she'll go. But they really don't think that it's cool. Whenever True Terror came out and some of their teachers said they saw me on there, they kind of squirmed about it, and so there is this part of them that they like to see their dad on television, but there's also a part about it is their friends might find out, they're just at that age right now. But yeah, teenage years are very, very difficult, especially for girls, because I have 3 boys and 2 girls. But my older daughter, Devin, who's going to be 18, so she's almost an adult now. She'll do things with me, no questions asked. But that Willow, though, that my youngest daughter, she has problems being around. But yeah.
You gotta think also, family you'll always have your family, and friends, sometimes they come and sometimes they go,
Right.
So you won't have them.
That's another good point. So in this business, you would think that everybody is close knit because we're all investigating the same thing. And actually, the truth is the exact opposite. This is a place where information really is the holy grail. And if you have information that somebody does not have, you can quickly become a pariah, or people will try to actually steal from you as well, too. That happens all the time. So I thought whenever I first got my foot in this business, that I would be able to have a lot of friends and a lot of people, that were kind of the camaraderie. And the sad thing is, it's really not that way. I have had, somebody that was on their own television show want to collaborate with me, and took a lot of the work that I submitted to him and made it his own and went off on his own and made his own YouTube channel and stuff. And that happens. And that's the dark side of this, because everybody wants to jockey for position, and some people don't like to work for it. And in so doing, they will, step on you and, use you. So that's the one thing that you really need to look out for, especially if you're thinking about doing this in the long term. And people burn out very easily in this business as well. The travel will get to you. The constant idea of having to write. even in the academic world, the idea of publishing or perishing is one of these monikers that people hold dear. And in order for you to constantly be in the culture, you have to constantly be putting out books where people will forget about you very quickly. So it's not really all that glamorous, but it is something also that I have a passion for, and I would have it. I would rather do nothing else than pursuing the world of the unexplained and things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, well, that is going to finish up our interview.
Guys, it flew by. You're going to have to let me know whenever this is going on, because I will definitely promote this. This is one of the most fun shows I've ever done. And I've been on Coast to Coast, I've been on Coast to Coast AM, and I do not think that I've had better questions asked of me. And also, nobody out there has ever got out to me what kind of grilled cheese sandwich I like. So I applaud you guys immensely. You did a fantastic job. I was supposed to be on with you last week, but life kind of got in the way. But anytime you need me here, guys, again, I will be there at a moment's notice. I promise you that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great time interviewing you and having you out here. I mean, it was a great time, and we had a great time.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in the future. I'm hoping 10 years down the road, you guys will be the ones that are headlighting these conferences. And I think that the future for the unexplained in cryptozoology is in fine hands with young gentlemen like yourselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's super interesting, right? Like, I'm excited to learn more. Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Keep it up. And also, I went to college and I studied history and I studied literature, and I was able to take all that kind of academic input and put it in there as well too, because I read about all these great monsters out there, and history has all these tales of these monsters. So I still say, go to college and get a great education and put it all together and rock this world.
Thank you so much for watching today's JCT Talks podcast. Also, thank you so much for Ronald Murphy Jr. for coming out today. It was an amazing interview. I certainly did have a great time, and it was just a great video overall. Callum, how was your experience with this amazing interview?
Yeah, it was a great interview. Probably one of our best out there right now. And yeah, thanks so much for Ronald to come out here and share his thoughts and give great advice and just be such a great interviewer. Or being interviewed her.
Yeah, and I can completely agree. It was an amazing video. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and like this video for more interviews to come. It's going to be an amazing season, and it's just a great, chill interview that we had today. Callum, would you like to talk about our social media?
Yeah, before I do, go check out Ronald. We'll link his Instagram in the description below. You can just go drop him a follow. Go learn about, if you want to learn more about him, just go to that and look up True Terror. It's a great TV show. It's the one he was on. Look for Ronald Murphy Jr. right there. And yeah, and also, yeah, so we have our Instagram. We have our all our other social medias, but please go join them. They'll be in the description below. So if you want to interact with us, then just join those and do that and follow Ronald.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching today's JCT Talks podcast, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.